A sleek, high-rise office tower looms over the city skyline, its glass windows reflecting the golden glow of the afternoon sun. Inside, Elena sits nervously in a plush leather chair, waiting for her job interview. She smooths out the fabric of her navy blue blazer, her hands slightly trembling. This interview is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If she gets the job, it could change everything. The receptionist gives her a polite nod. "Mr. Lancaster will see you now." Elena takes a deep breath and rises to her feet. She straightens her shoulders, reminding herself to stay confident. As she steps into the luxurious office, her eyes skim the massive bookshelves, the antique wooden desk, and the elegant decor. And then, her heart stops. On the CEO's desk, behind a stack of neatly arranged papers, a framed photograph catches her eye. It's a picture of a young woman with warm brown eyes and a familiar, gentle smile. Elena's mother. She feels her breath hitch, her pulse pounding in her ears. Why is a photo of her mother sitting on the desk of a multimillionaire she's never met? Before she can move, a deep voice fills the room. "Miss Carter, is there something wrong?" Elena turns sharply. Standing before her is Richard Lancaster, the powerful and intimidating CEO. He follows her gaze to the photo. For a split second, his expression changes, shocked, almost pained. But then, just as quickly, his face hardens. Elena opens her mouth, but the words don't come. Before she can ask the question burning in her mind, he speaks first. "Sit down. There's something you need to know, but not here." Elena's hands grip the arms of the chair as she slowly lowers herself into the seat. Her mind is still racing. Her mother's photo, on this man's desk? Who was Richard Lancaster to her mother? The CEO watches her carefully, his piercing gaze unreadable. The silence in the room is thick. Elena swallows hard, finally gathering the courage to ask. "Why do you have a picture of my mother?" Richard's expression remains neutral, but something flickers in his eyes, something he's trying to hide. "Let's focus on the interview first," he says smoothly. Elena clenches her fists under the desk. Why is he avoiding the question? Still, she forces herself to stay professional. She needs this job. The interview begins. Richard asks her about her experience, her career goals, and her strengths. But the whole time, his questions feel off. Instead of focusing on her skills, he seems more interested in her personal life. "Where did you grow up? Did your mother ever mention working for this company? Do you know anything about your father?" Elena shifts uncomfortably. Why is he asking these things? Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Richard leans back in his chair. He studies her for a long moment, then says something completely unexpected. "You're hired." Elena blinks. "What?" "I haven't even finished answering all your questions." Richard offers a small, knowing smile. "I've heard enough. The position is yours. Effective immediately." Elena's stomach twists. Something isn't right. No corporate job works like this. Why is he so eager to hire her? Then comes the final shock. Richard reaches into a drawer and slides a contract across the desk. The salary is nearly double what she expected. Her breath catches. This job would change her life. Pay off debts. Help her start fresh. But deep down, something feels wrong. She looks up at Richard. He's watching her closely, like he's waiting for something. A test? A trap? A game? Elena hesitates, fingers hovering over the contract. Then Richard speaks again. "Before you sign, There's something you need to know." His voice is quiet but firm. "This job comes with conditions." Elena's heart pounds. What kind of conditions? And what is he really hiding? Elena's fingers tremble over the contract. The weight of Richard Lancaster's words still lingers in the air. Her mother. The love of his life? Her mind races, trying to make sense of it all. She looks up, meeting Richard's piercing gaze. This man isn't just a stranger anymore, he's connected to her past. "That doesn't make sense," she says, voice unsteady. "My mother died in an accident." Richard exhales slowly. His face tightens, as if hearing those words pains him. "No, she didn't." Silence. Elena grips the edge of the desk. "This isn't real. This can't be real." She pushes the contract away. "I don't understand. Why would my mother fake her death?" Richard doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he presses a hidden button under his desk. A soft click. Across the room, a bookshelf shifts aside, revealing a concealed door. Elena's breath catches. "A secret room?" "Come with me," Richard says. Elena's heart pounds. She should leave. Walk out. This man is hiding something dangerous. But curiosity grips her tighter than fear. She follows. Inside the secret room. The room is dimly lit, lined with filing cabinets, stacks of documents, and photographs pinned to the walls. It looks like an investigation room. Elena's breath quickens as she recognizes a face in one of the photos. Her mother. Not just one image, dozens. Some of them are old, grainy photographs, others recent, taken within the last few years. Elena's knees nearly give out. Recent photos? That's impossible. Her mother has been dead for years. This can't be real, she whispers. Richard watches her closely. I never stopped searching for her. Elena forces herself to move. Her shaking fingers reach for a yellowed newspaper clipping pinned to the wall. She reads the bold headline. Mysterious disappearance of Lucia Carter, vanished without a trace. Her vision blurs as she scans the article. Her mother was last seen over 20 years ago. No explanation. No clues. Just gone. The police eventually ruled it a voluntary disappearance. Elena shakes her head, heart racing. No. That's not what happened. Her mother died. She knows that. Doesn't she? Richard watches as the truth starts to sink in. Your mother didn't die in an accident, Elena. Elena whirls around. Then where is she? Richard's jaw tightens. That's what I've been trying to find out for years. Elena feels like the ground beneath her is crumbling. Everything she thought she knew was a lie. A hidden past. Elena's fingers dig into her palms as she struggles to control her breathing. If you knew her, she says, voice shaking, then tell me the truth. Who is she running from? Richard hesitates. His expression hardens. My brother. The words hang in the air like a loaded gun. Elena's blood turns ice cold. Your brother? Richard steps closer, his voice lowering. Lucia and I were in love. But she discovered something she was never meant to know. What did she find out? Richard's lips press into a thin line. That my brother, Nathan Lancaster, was involved in things that could destroy this entire company. Elena feels her stomach drop. Nathan Lancaster. She doesn't know much about him, except that he disappeared from the public eye years ago. Some say he left the country. Others whisper that he was involved in criminal activity. But the truth had been buried. Elena steps back. You're saying my mother knew something about him? Richard nods. She tried to expose him. But before she could, she vanished. Elena clutches her chest, her breath ragged. Her mother was silenced. And now, after all these years, someone still wants her gone. A new target. Elena forces herself to stand tall, but her legs feel weak. Why are you telling me this now? She demands. Richard's gaze darkens. Because now that you're here, they'll come after you too. Elena's breath catches in her throat. No. She shakes her head. I don't even know these people. I have nothing to do with this. Richard exhales. That doesn't matter. He pulls a file from a drawer and hands it to her. Inside are surveillance photos. Of her. Elena stares at the images. Pictures of her leaving her apartment. Walking to work. Eating at her favorite cafe. Someone has been watching her. She nearly drops the folder. I don't understand. Why me? Richard's voice is quiet but firm. Because you're Lucia's daughter. The room spins. She's being hunted for something she didn't even know existed. A deadly decision. Elena clenches her fists. She refuses to believe this. But the evidence is right in front of her. She looks up at Richard. You knew this whole time. And you still brought me here? Richard's eyes flicker with something unreadable. I had no choice. Elena glares at him. So, what? You give me a job and expect me to just go along with this? Richard exhales, shaking his head. No, Elena. I brought you here to protect you. Elena's heart pounds. From what? Richard meets her gaze. From them. Before she can react, the door to the office bursts open. One of Richard's assistants rushes in, panic in her eyes. Sir, we have a problem. Richard straightens. What is it? The assistant hesitates, then looks at Elena. They know she's here. The air in the room turns ice cold. Richard swears under his breath. Elena feels her blood freeze. She's not safe here. Not anywhere. Someone is coming for her. And this time, she might not escape. Elena's chest tightens. The air in Richard's office suddenly feels suffocating. They know she's here. The assistant's words echo in her head. Her legs feel frozen, but her instincts scream at her to run. She turns to Richard. Who exactly is they? Richard clenches his jaw. He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he steps over to his desk and presses another hidden button. A steel panel slides over the windows, locking down the office. Elena's stomach twists. This isn't normal. This isn't just about her mother. This is something much bigger. The weight of lies. Richard exhales, his fingers drumming against the desk. My brother, Nathan, he never really disappeared. Elena stiffens. But the news said. Richard cuts her off. The news was controlled. Elena's pulse pounds. Controlled? Richard turns to the assistant. How did they find out so fast? The assistant shakes her head. I don't know. But security says there are 2 unmarked cars outside. Armed men. Elena grips the armrest of her chair, her breath shaky. Armed men? Her mind flashes back to the photographs. Someone had been watching her for weeks. They weren't just following her. They were waiting. Richard finally meets her eyes. Listen to me carefully, Elena. You can't go back home. Excuse me? They'll be watching. They'll come for you next. Elena's world spins. You're telling me my life is over? That I'm some kind of target because of my mother? Richard doesn't blink. Yes. Her hands curl into fists. And you knew. You brought me here anyway. Richard's silence is the answer. He knew. The dark secret. Elena pushes up from the chair. I don't trust you. Richard doesn't react. He just watches her, like he expected this. You knew my mother was running. You knew she was hiding. And instead of warning me, you brought me straight into danger. Richard sighs. You needed to know the truth. Elena laughs bitterly. The truth? Or did you need something from me? Richard's eyes darken. Both. Silence. A cold realization sinks into Elena's bones. She wasn't just summoned here out of concern. She was bait. Her hands tremble, but she refuses to let herself cry. What did you do? She whispers. Richard's expression hardens. I made a deal. A deal. Elena's breath catches. With who? Richard doesn't answer. Elena steps back. Her mind connects the dots. The strange job offer. The excessive salary. The sudden secrecy. It was all a setup. The betrayal. The office door swings open again. A new figure steps in. A man in his 60s, dressed in a tailored suit, with piercing gray eyes. Elena doesn't recognize him, but the cold dread in Richard's face says it all. Hello, Elena. The man's voice is smooth, calculated. Elena's heart stops. She knows who he is. She's seen his face on business news. Nathan Lancaster. Richard's brother. The man her mother was running from. Elena feels sick. Nathan steps closer. I've waited a long time to meet you. A dangerous offer. Elena's knees feel weak. Nathan watches her like a predator sizing up prey. Richard clenches his fists. She's not involved in this, Nathan. Leave her alone. Nathan chuckles. Not involved? Richard, she's Lucia's daughter. He tilts his head. Which means, she knows something. Elena forces herself to stand her ground. I don't know anything. Nathan's smirk widens. Oh, but you will. Richard steps in front of her. I won't let you touch her. Nathan sighs, shaking his head. Come on, little brother. We don't have to be enemies. You tried to kill Lucia. The words slice through the air. Elena feels the blood drain from her face. Nathan barely reacts. She made a mistake. She crossed the wrong people. Elena's hands clench at her sides. She was trying to expose you, she whispers. Wasn't she? Nathan meets her gaze. Yes. Elena's stomach drops. Everything is clear now. Her mother didn't just run away. She was hunted. And now, it's happening again. Nathan takes a slow step forward. I'll make this simple. His voice is cold. You can either join me, or disappear like your mother did. Elena's chest tightens. She's trapped. And the worst part? She doesn't know who to trust anymore. Elena's pulse pounds in her ears. Nathan Lancaster's words hang in the air like a loaded gun. You can either join me, or disappear like your mother did. Her breath catches. He isn't bluffing. Her mother vanished because of him. And now, it's her turn. Richard steps forward, shielding Elena. You're not touching her. Nathan sighs. Oh, Richard. Always so dramatic. His gray eyes flick back to Elena. I don't want to hurt you, dear. But I will if I have to. Elena clenches her fists. You're lying. You already did. Nathan raises an eyebrow. Oh? Elena's voice shakes, but she forces herself to stand tall. You killed my mother, didn't you? Silence. Nathan studies her, then smiles. Is that what Richard told you? Her stomach turns. She looks at Richard. His face is unreadable. Something is wrong. Nathan tilts his head. Tell her, Richard. Richard's jaw tightens. Elena's breath catches. No. He's hiding something. Nathan's voice is smooth, almost amused. He never told you the whole story, did he? Elena shakes her head. You're lying. Nathan laughs softly. Am I? He gestures toward Richard. Ask him why he was looking for your mother all these years. Elena's stomach twists. She turns to Richard. Tell me he's lying. Richard won't meet her eyes. Her heartbeat hammers. Richard. Silence. Then. I didn't want you to find out this way. Elena's chest tightens. No. 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 Nathan's smirk widens. There it is. Richard's voice is low, pained. I loved your mother, Elena. But she wasn't running from Nathan. Elena steps back. Her head spins. Then, who? Richard exhales. His next words shatter her world. She was running from me. The words hit like a bullet. Elena's vision blurs. Her throat tightens. She can't breathe. No, she whispers. That's not possible. Richard looks at her, guilt etched across his face. I never meant for things to happen this way. Elena shakes her head violently. Nathan chuckles. Oh, dear girl, you really had no idea, did you? Elena can't move. Can't think. Her mother wasn't afraid of Nathan. She was afraid of Richard. The man who claimed to love her. The man who brought Elena here. A man who had been lying from the start. Elena forces herself to speak. What did you do to her? Richard closes his eyes. It's complicated. No. Elena's voice hardens. Tell me. Right now. Richard's face darkens. Your mother knew things she shouldn't have. Elena's stomach drops. Richard exhales. I tried to stop her. I begged her to stay quiet. Elena grips the edge of the desk. You threatened her. Richard's face twists with pain. I thought I was protecting her. Nathan smirks. And when she didn't listen. Richard's hands clench into fists. His voice is hoarse. I let them take her. Everything goes silent. Elena stares at him, unable to process what she just heard. She can barely breathe. Her mother didn't just disappear. Richard let it happen. The man she almost trusted. The man she thought was on her side. He betrayed her. And now, he's the real enemy. Nathan watches with amusement. Now. Don't be too hard on him. He had good intentions. Elena feels sick. You're both monsters. Nathan shrugs. Perhaps. But I'm giving you a choice. His eyes glint with something dangerous. Come with me, and I'll tell you everything about your mother. Elena's heart pounds. She has to decide. Trust the man who betrayed her, or align herself with a killer. Neither option feels like survival. But one thing is certain, she's running out of time. Elena's body is frozen in place. The weight of Richard's confession hangs over her like a noose. I let them take her. The words keep repeating in her head, a relentless echo of betrayal and devastation. Her mother didn't die in an accident. She was taken. And the man who claimed to love her let it happen. Her chest tightens. Richard avoids her gaze, but the guilt is clear on his face. Nathan watches, a dark amusement flickering in his cold gray eyes. It's a cruel truth, isn't it? He murmurs. The man you thought was your savior is actually your mother's greatest enemy. Elena's hands curl into fists. She wants to scream, to hit something. But she can't afford to break down. Not now. She forces herself to breathe. To think. Where is she? Her voice is barely above a whisper, but it slices through the room like a knife. Nathan tilts his head. That depends. Elena's heart pounds. Depends on what? Nathan smiles. On whether you're ready to hear the truth. Nathan takes slow, deliberate steps toward the desk, resting his fingers lightly on its polished surface. Your mother was never supposed to know what she knew. Elena's fingers dig into her palms. What did she find out? Nathan's smile doesn't waver. She found out that Richard and I weren't just running a business. Richard stiffens, but says nothing. Nathan gestures lazily. She discovered that we were laundering money for some very dangerous people. Elena's stomach twists. Nathan shrugs. She wanted to expose us. She thought she could just walk away. His grin widens. She was wrong. Elena feels like she's going to be sick. Her mother tried to stop them. She was brave. And they silenced her. Her voice shakes. You killed her. Nathan's smirk vanishes. For the first time, he looks genuinely insulted. Oh no, dear. His tone is low. Your mother isn't dead. Elena's breath catches. The room seems to tilt. What? Nathan watches her reaction closely. She's alive. Elena's knees nearly give out. Her mother is alive. She isn't gone. A sob rises in her throat, but she swallows it down. Where is she? She demands. Nathan gives a slow, cruel smile. That's the real question, isn't it? Elena whirls toward Richard. You knew? Richard finally meets her gaze. Yes. Elena stares at him, horrified. He's been lying this entire time. Acting like her mother was gone. Like he was a victim too. But all along, he knew she was alive. Her hands tremble with rage. Where is she? She shouts. Richard doesn't answer. Nathan sighs. This is why I wanted to speak with you, Elena. Richard doesn't want you to know the truth. Elena glares at Richard. Tell me. Richard runs a shaky hand through his hair. I don't know where she is now. I only know that she's in hiding. Nathan's voice is mocking. Oh, is that what you're telling yourself? That she escaped? Richard's jaw tightens. Nathan leans forward. She didn't run, Richard. She was taken. Elena feels her blood turn to ice. Taken? By who? Nathan chuckles. By the very people we worked for. Elena's mind reels. This wasn't just about a corrupt business. Her mother was a prisoner. Somewhere out there, she's alive, but trapped. Her fingers dig into the edge of the desk. Nathan's voice is calm, deliberate. I can take you to her. Elena's breath catches. Her heart slams against her ribcage. What? Nathan leans in. I have connections. I know where she is. But if you want my help. He pauses. Then, with a wicked smirk, he says, you have to work for me. The room spins. Nathan is offering her a deal. If she agrees, she could find her mother. But at what cost? Richard grabs her wrist. Don't. Elena's breath shudders. Nathan watches intently. Well? Elena looks between them. The man who betrayed her mother. And the man who wants to control her future. Neither is a hero. But only one of them can take her to the truth. Her jaw tightens. She already knows her answer. She straightens. And then, with a steady voice, she says, take me to her. Nathan's smile widens. Richard's face falls. Elena has made her choice. And now, there's no turning back. Elena stands alone in the dimly lit office, her heart racing. She's made her choice. She's going to find her mother, no matter the cost. But as the weight of her decision sinks in, she can't ignore the cold dread curling in her stomach. Nathan Lancaster isn't a savior. He's a master manipulator. And now, she's tied to him. Indebted. Trapped. But not defeated. She turns to face Nathan, her gaze hard and unyielding. You said you'd take me to her. I'm holding you to that. Nathan's smile is smooth, dangerous. Oh, I will. But first, you'll have to prove your loyalty. Elena's jaw tightens. I won't be your puppet. Nathan's eyes gleam. We'll see. The game has just begun. Elena's journey isn't over. It's only just begun. To find her mother, she'll have to walk a dangerous path, one where betrayal and deception wait at every turn. Can she trust anyone? Or will she end up just like her mother, lost and forgotten? One thing is certain. The truth is out there. But the price of finding it might be more than she can pay. What would you do if you were in Elena's shoes? Would you make a deal with the devil to save someone you love? Or would you walk away, even if it meant never knowing the truth? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. And if you want to find out what happens next, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Elena's story is far from over. And the next twist will leave you speechless.